intense habit. We come now to Amendment 134A, Lord Hacking.
My Lords, I will be speaking in this group on Amendments 134A and also on Amendments 139 and 140. But at this stage I should draw attention to your Lordships to the tabled Amendment 135A by the Noble Lady Baroness Baron and the Noble Lord Crisp. In the very first part of that amendment, Baroness Baron and Lord Crisp have tabled an amendment almost identical to my amendment 134A. But in the second part, which is a rather longer part of Amendment 135A, which deals with the problem of excessive information being sought from homeschooling parents, that the Noble Baroness and the Noble Lord Crisp deal with it much more extensively than I do in my amendments 139 and 140, but it's on the same subject. My Lords, before I go to my amendment 134A, I should like to acknowledge the good progress that has been made on homeschooling issues in the 3 or 4 years that I have been involved in these issues in your Lordship's House. There's been very good progress on the register, which is now to be called the Register and Not in School Register, and that is to be most welcome. The Noble Baroness may remember with the previous government's bill that I made it quite plain that I've always supported the institution of that register. Next to the recognition, my Lords, now of homeschooling should not be secret, and the local authority should know what homeschooling is taking place. Thirdly, the recognition, and this is a very important recognition, which has very much come out now, of the role of the local authority to assist homeschooling parents. And this was very well covered in the second bull point on page 8 of my noble friend's letter of the 7th of January, and has even been better covered by her excellent and helpful speech at the beginning of Group 3 during our present deliberations in report. My Lords, this enables me, I hope, to go on a strong basis to my Amendment 134A, previously Amendment 135. Its purpose is to protect a homeschooling parent and child from an offending other parent. For example, a father who has perpetrated serious sexual acts on the child. Of course, they have now separated and are living in different abodes. Or another example, to be protected from offending father who's perpetrated serious domestic violence in the home, and so forth, so that this moves my amendment to prevent that parent, the offending parent, having knowledge of the address and whereabouts of the child. And as your Lordship will understand, that all parents who have faced the ordeals that I've just described place a tremendous importance that their whereabouts and address should not be known. The need, my Lords, for this amendment was brought to my attention and to the attention of the noble Lords Crisp and Frost by a mother whose former husband had committed serious sexual acts on her son. This mother also attended a successful meeting last June with other homeschooling mothers with the then responsible minister, Stephen Morgan. It was a very successful meeting, and we thought we made very good progress at it. My Lords, it's beyond our understanding how any father could seek to perpetrate sexual acts on his own children, boys or girls, and some as young as 4 years old. And it's certainly beyond my understanding. But I have to tell your lordships, it does happen, and I have to suggest that it happens more frequently that we know about. Prosecuting authorities, for example, are in a difficult position and have extreme reluctance to prosecute when reliance has to be played on a small child's evidence. This amendment, therefore, is not just based on one mother's concern, but on a universal concern, I suggest, for all homeschooling mothers who are now separated from an offending father and want that separation to be kept complete. The problem is, my lords, that as drafted, the requirements on page 56 of the bill is a requirement for the name and address of both parents to be in the register. This, of course, my lords, includes the offending father, and hence my amendment is to change that wide allowance for parents to be in the register if they are taking, and this is from the words of my amendment, taking responsibility for the education of the child. I'm told that in the helpful discussions I've had, and I thank my noble friend for enabling them with her officials, I'm told that the belief, and in fact that's wrong, perhaps my noble friend the Minister will correct me, that the belief that the offending parent in the description I've given won't have access to the register. I have to say this can't be right. All persons named in a register must have the right to access that register. For example, just to check whether the name is correct, whether the address is correct. And of course, once the offending father has access to the register, he has access to the address and whereabouts of both the mother and the child. So that is why I am extremely concerned on behalf of all homeschooling mothers who are in this similar situation, that they should be properly protected. However, even if my argument is wrong about the access by the offending parent to the register, I have to say that I think I've taken a sensible position, that the only parents who should be on the register are the parents taking responsibility for the education of the child or children. The other parents, if they're not doing that, they have no right to be there. And if one thinks a little further, that there's then the requirement in the bill for all of those parents that are registered in the bill to provide ongoing information. The parent who is not involved in the responsibility of the education of the child is in an extremely odd position, having to provide information about which he, and it's nearly always a he, knows nothing about. My lords, there is, I suggest, therefore, no problem in the amendment that I've given, even if my argument of exposure is not right. My lords, I then move to my other two amendments, and that's Amendments 139 and 140. There's no provision as such in the bill on what information the local authority needs. At primary school level, one might expect that the local authority needs to check whether, for example, and Jim Callaghan always refers it to the 3 R's, arithmetic, reading and writing. And when we get, my lords, to secondary level, the local authority may well be wanting information of whether English language and literature is taught, whether advanced maths are taught, whether all the appropriate sciences are taught, including computer sciences. My Lords, the local authority certainly will not need to know about, for example, Sunday school. For another example, evening music lessons. For a third example, weekend PT lessons. But the trouble is, my Lord, in the bill as drafted, that information is included in the requirements of the bill. And having carefully looked at Amendment 138, this doesn't, my noble friends, friends, Amendment 138, this doesn't cover this issue. So that I very much hope that my noble friend will be favourable towards my amendment, or indeed Amendment 135 of Baroness. So the information, my Lords, that the local authority has to bring into account on pages 58 to 66 are to be removed. That's the terms of Amendment 135. I don't quarrel with that. I just think that my amendment is simpler and better for application. Above all, my Lords, my amendment accords with the words of my noble friend, the Minister, when she wrote in her letter of the 7th of January, and she said this: "It's important to ensure a proportional approach, providing local authorities with the information they need without placing unnecessary burdens on parents." I suggest my amendments achieves that. Regrettably, I have to suggest the present drafting of the bill doesn't.
Does the noble lord wish to move his amendment?
I do. I beg to move my amendment.
Amendment proposed in clause 32, page 58, leave out lines 17 to 19 and insert the words as printed in the Marshall list.